In 2011, Gordon visited Austin, Texas, in struggling Greek taverna El Greco. Owned by mother and son, Athena and Jake Konstantinidis, the restaurant was Athena's dream, and keen cook Jake, who was a culinary school graduate, was happy to support her as her head chef. For the first 6 months, the restaurant was thriving. The dining room was busy for lunch and dinner every day. Athena's sister came over from Greece to support the busy restaurant, and it looked like the business would be a big success. But in the prior 12 months, customer numbers have dropped dramatically, and it appears that the problem might be Jake. Spending as little as 3 or 4 hours a day at the restaurant, the rest of the kitchen team is forced to pick up the slack, because Jake is constantly slacking off.
You freaking abandoned us again.
I'm not spending as much time as I used to in the restaurant.
The previously good relationship between mother and son has deteriorated, with Athena frustrated by having to repeatedly ask Jake to carry out simple tasks, and Jake labeling Athena a nag. Jake curses his mom out on a regular basis in front of the shocked staff, bringing down morale.
Mom, get the fuck out of my kitchen.
The quality of the food is also clearly an issue, with the microwave taking most of the strain in the kitchen, despite Athena paying experienced staff on the line.
The food quality is really low.
They said their moussaka and orzo was way too mushy.
What?
That was nasty.
Having put all of her money into the restaurant, Athena is concerned that closing the doors would leave her on the streets. Gordon arrives on a sunny morning and is greeted by waiter Dustin. Jake and Athena come out to meet their visitor, with Athena giving Chef Ramsay a warm, welcoming hug. They sit down to chat. Gordon discovers that the pair are partners in the business, and both work in the kitchen, Jake taking on the head chef's job, and Athena preparing family recipes. Athena tells Gordon that her day starts at 6 a.m., and Jake has to admit that he doesn't make it in until sometime just before 12. Apparently, tired at the thought of an earlier start, Jake can't seem to stop yawning. Gordon is interested to find out what the restaurant's problem is, and Athena is quick to reply that the problem is her son. She feels he doesn't care about the restaurant, the job, or his life. Athena tells a shocked Gordon that she's invested $800,000 in the business so far. But more upsetting to her than the loss of her money is the loss of her son, who she is convinced hates her. Jake tells his emotional mother to shut up, leading to a heartbreaking response that leaves Gordon speechless.
I'd rather be dead. Don't have a son like you now.
Gordon sits down to lunch. While he looks at the menu, he asks for a quick chat with the kitchen manager, who tells Gordon that all the problems in the restaurant stem from Jake and his laziness. Chef Ramsay is shocked to find that Jake only spends 3 hours a day at the restaurant because he spends all his time playing a video game. Dustin takes Gordon's order through to the kitchen, and the chefs start cooking Gordon's dishes in the microwave. Oh dear. First up is the stuffed zucchini, which Gordon thinks looks like something from an alien movie. It is so bland, Gordon says he feels like crying. Athena thinks they are doomed. Next comes a lamb shank. It's gray and overly salty. Chef Ramsay is keen to find out who was responsible for cooking it.
That's Chef Mike.
Chef who?
Chef Mike. It's a microwave.
The Kitchen Nightmares legend, Chef Mike, is born. At least Dustin has managed to bring a smile to Gordon's face, because the food certainly hasn't. As the chef waits for his next dish to arrive, he meets Kiki, Athena's sister. She doesn't speak English, and gets another rare Ramsay laugh, as he lists different languages that might work for both of them, with little success.
Spanish? German? Okay. I don't speak German, but it's good to know. Thank you.
Back to the food. The final menu item that Gordon samples is moussaka, the classic Greek dish. Unfortunately, Jake's version seems less than authentic and sticks stubbornly to the plate. He thinks it looks like dog food, and was clearly prepared by Chef Mike, the most hardworking chef in El Greco's kitchen. Jake still believes that he's putting out a high-quality product, but when Gordon goes back to the kitchen to give his feedback, he doesn't agree. Gordon feels that Chef Mike has more qualifications than Jake, and a better attitude. Branding him a sack of crap instead of an executive chef, Gordon asks Jake to leave so he can speak to Athena. Gordon is concerned that without Jake showing any passion, it's almost impossible to turn the restaurant around. Athena shares his concern, and is worried that it might be too late to save her dream. That evening, Gordon returns to observe a dinner service. Locals have heard that Gordon's in town, and the dining room is busier than usual. He discovers that one of the line cooks has 14 years experience, and just as the kitchen manager said earlier, would rather be using the 12 burners on the stove. But as usual, Chef Mike is hard at work, much to the team's embarrassment. Jake, however, is not embarrassed at all, stating that his food is fresh and nutritious. Gordon is surprised that any holdups in the kitchen come from a line forming at the microwave.
I'm not cooking it in the microwave. I'm reheating it in the microwave. Big difference.
Jake feels that the standard of the food isn't compromised by using Chef Mike, and Gordon strongly disagrees, leading Jake to throw Chef Ramsay out of his kitchen. A despondent Athena tells Gordon that they will make any changes that need to be made, but once again he shares his concern that Jake just doesn't care, and that's a very difficult position to come back from. Athena is concerned that Jake doesn't care about himself, so he isn't capable of caring about anything else, including the food. After service, Gordon gathers the entire team in the dining room for a debrief. When Athena comments on Jake's change in attitude, he loudly curses at her and tells her to shut up.
I wouldn't be alive right now if I talked to my mother the way Jake does. My mom would murder me.
Calling her by her first name, he then tries to throw her out of his restaurant. His restaurant? She walks away. When Gordon has left and tempers have cooled, mother and son get some air. As an olive branch, Jake promises to come in at 10 a.m. the next morning to help Athena and Kiki prep food, a step in the right direction. Well, it would have been, but predictably it didn't happen. The sisters are hard at work from 6 a.m. as usual, and Jake breezes in after noon, receiving an angry reception. It appears that Jake has finally pushed his hard-working aunt too far, and a furious row erupts in their native Greek. Kiki tells Jake that his lazy attitude is ruining his mother's life, and she would have left in a heartbeat if the debt wasn't in her sister's name. Jake walks away, feeling wronged by his nagging family. When Gordon arrives, Athena tells Gordon about the morning's falling out. Chef Ramsay is caught in the middle of the bilingual argument, but understands the levels of anger coming from Kiki, even if he doesn't understand when she calls Jake a donkey. Gordon tells Athena that Jake must care a little bit about the restaurant, but he admits that sometimes he really doesn't care because he's sick of being nagged. Straight-talking Kiki is infuriated and once again calls him out on his laziness, while Jake tells the two women that he doesn't need them to be there and can run the restaurant himself. Athena is forced to intervene between her son and her sister. Gordon steps in and tries to calm the upsetting situation, asking everyone to wipe the slate clean and start afresh. Jake agrees to change his ways, and, in an extraordinary turnaround, his aunt Kiki wraps him in a genuine hug, showing real forgiveness and reducing him to tears. It seems that the love the family have for each other was still very close to the surface. Gordon reminds them that the beauty of a family-run restaurant is that they can cook so well together, and all three need to commit to new beginnings. Gordon is ready to reveal the first step in his overhaul of the restaurant. He invites all the staff to wait for him outside in the parking lot, before he makes a staffing change that's going to have a big impact.
Chef Mike, you've been so busy. It's time that you took a little vacation.
Gordon appears at the top of the building, holding Jake's beloved microwave. He hurls it to the floor where it smashes on impact, much to the delight of the line cooks. Farewell, Chef Mike. Jake admits that he needs to get back to basics and cook fresh Greek food the old-fashioned way. A smiling Jake observes Gordon closely, and the team all appreciate the difference when tasting the food he has quickly and easily produced. Overnight, Gordon's team move in to update the dining room decor. The staff and owners arrive the next morning, excited to see their new restaurant. The change is dramatic. The drab and soulless restaurant has been given a Mediterranean feel using the clean and vibrant colors of the Greek flag. Modern metal chairs, contemporary wall art, and a high wooden table with brushed stainless steel stools add style and character. The dining room is finished with simple and inviting white place settings and pretty ceramic water jugs on each table. It's time to unveil the new menu. Marinated lamb chops, braised octopus, and beef or eggplant moussaka dishes look colorful and appetizing, and the team are all impressed by the vibrant flavors. That evening, it's time to relaunch the restaurant, and everything is going to be cooked fresh, from scratch. Food starts leaving the kitchen and is well received by happy diners. Pressure starts to mount, and Jake begins to crumble. He's gone from doing nothing in the kitchen to trying to do everything himself, and Gordon is worried that if he doesn't start to delegate, service could be disrupted. As predicted, the kitchen stalls and diners are left waiting for their food. The line cooks get frustrated with Jake's refusal to let them help when he's clearly getting overwhelmed and mistakes are being made. Gordon steps in to stop the arguments and get the chefs working as a team. Food starts leaving the kitchen again, and customers are happy with what they receive. When the final customers have left the building, Gordon calls the group together and praises the teamwork and attitude he's seen in the kitchen. Delighted with the major transformation that has occurred, Gordon celebrates with the staff by breaking some plates to represent bad habits being broken. Before he leaves, Gordon tells Jake that he needs to respect his team, and tells Athena that she must respect Jake. Calling it a miracle that Jake and Athena's relationship is so improved, Gordon wishes the family success and hopes that Chef Mike will rest in pieces. In the following months, feedback was mainly positive, and the restaurant's future looked bright. But unfortunately, the debt the family faced was just too high, and the business was forced to close its doors for good. Gordon's visit to El Greco in Austin, Texas took place in August 2011, and was greeted with excitement by the local community. While Jake wasn't initially happy to see him, the same wasn't true for Chef Ramsay's fans. As the production team filled exterior scenes for the episode, some onlookers took the opportunity to get a few moments to talk with the celebrity chef, even abandoning cars to get a quick autograph. But Gordon's visit to El Greco was a controversial one, with some critics suggesting that instead of saving the struggling restaurant, Gordon's changes had in fact killed it off completely. One of the main themes in the episode was the dysfunctional dynamic between Jake and his family. When the show aired in January 2012, viewers were as divided as the family about the cause of the issues they were facing. Many felt that Jake was extremely rude and disrespectful towards his aunt and mother, who received a lot of sympathy. Others felt that Athena's negativity was driving her son away from the restaurant, and that she should take at least part of the blame for babying him and tolerating his bad behavior for so long. But one thing everyone agreed on, Jake clearly no longer cared about the food, and his lazy overuse of Gordon's favorite employee, Chef Mike, couldn't be defended. But had Jake always been that way? And if not, what happened? Looking back at reviews of the restaurant when Athena and Jake first opened their doors, things looked very different. One food critic fell in love with Jake's musica and commented on the passion with which he produced the authentic recipes passed down to him by Athena and Kiki. Customers from those first few months were also impressed, calling out the lamb shank in particular. Yes, that's the very same dish that disgusted Gordon a couple of years later. So clearly the food, and Jake's ability to cook it, weren't always a problem. And it was Jake himself who applied to be on the show soon after the restaurant opened, though the timing was out of his hands. By the time Gordon arrived, Jake was clearly in a very different place and had none of the passion and energy mentioned in early reviews. Viewers had a number of theories about why this was, with many picking up on the throwaway comment at the beginning of the episode around video gaming. It seems that Jake had been playing World of Warcraft and had briefly stepped away from the game to open the restaurant. He seems to have returned to playing excessively, which could explain his yawning and appearing constantly distracted. That theory is definitely supported by the fact that Jake had a YouTube channel where he shared WoW videos. Others felt that Jake was exhibiting clear signs of depression and deserved much more sympathy. Jake's inability to get out to work in the morning could have been a depressive symptom, rather than laziness. Viewers were genuinely concerned for his well-being and felt that he may have needed help with his mental health rather than his menus. Back to the food. Because many locals had sampled Jake's food when the restaurant first opened and his dishes were authentic, Gordon's revised menu wasn't a hit with everyone. The new menu was reduced and simplified, removing many classic Greek dishes that reviewers had loved. And while it's safe to say that Gordon's dishes looked great on a plate, those plates weren't cheap. Many customers left the same kind of review following the revamp. They preferred the food before Gordon's visit. And that shouldn't be a big surprise. We can see from a newspaper clipping from 2008 that Aunt Kiki has plenty of expertise in this area. She was a professional chef for 30 years before coming to the US. With so many comments about the food choices changing for the worse, you might wonder why they didn't change back to the old menu. Another snippet from the same review answers that question. The family had signed a contract agreeing to keep Gordon's menu changes in place. But the customers must have loved the modern dining room makeover, right? Not really. Another common complaint was that the original decor featured lovely photos of Greece, and the bright blue and white was cheesy. But could they just change it back? Well, apparently not. Back to that same contract that requires the restaurant to keep the changes in place. So Chef Ramsay got a lot of criticism from customers who felt that his changes actually harmed, rather than helped, the struggling restaurant. But there's plenty more information and reviews that point to standards at the restaurant slipping after Gordon's visit. Diners were experiencing long waits for their food, despite going in for a quick business lunch. And once they received the food, it wasn't up to the standard that they, or Gordon, hoped for. But worst of all, it seems the calm and harmony between the family members and their staff was short-lived. Unfortunately, one viewer's sister witnessed Jake screaming at his family soon after Gordon's visit, while a diner reported witnessing Jake screaming at staff, causing them to walk out mid-shift. That story certainly seems accurate, as adverts were soon placed on Craigslist for both line cooks and servers to work in the restaurant. One of the El Greco chefs spoke to a journalist after leaving the restaurant and revealed that corners were being cut and standards of produce were falling. Was Chef Mike brought back from the dead to help out while Jake was missing staff? Who knows? One of the line cooks seen on the episode also resigned soon after filming. It seems he lasted around 2 weeks after Gordon's visit, before finding another role where he was working with a happier kitchen team. In summary, it doesn't seem fair that Gordon took the blame for the failure of El Greco, which closed its doors in December 2011, a month before the episode aired. Gordon did everything he possibly could to save the restaurant, including for some reason standing on its roof. And once again, we hear from a diner who was present at the filming that what you see is what really happened at the restaurant, with no setup situations or staged scenes. When El Greco closed, the building became a pizza restaurant and is now a toasted sub shop, and it gets great reviews, achieving a rating of 4.6 out of 5. But it's safe to say the interior looks nothing like the Greek restaurant, either before or after the controversial makeover. As for the family, they have very limited social media presence, so we don't have any updates on where they are now. We hope that Dustin is proud of his iconic Chef Mike comment, which is now a Kitchen Nightmares favorite. We are grateful that we got to witness its beginnings, and Gordon looked delighted to witness Chef Mike's demise. We wish the staff and owners all the best for the future.